The 47 Ronin. Japan in the 18th century was a pretty strict place, especially for the samurai. There was a thing called Bushido, or the Way of the Warrior, which was basically the samurai's rulebook on how to live and die with honor. And no one took Bushido more seriously than the 47 Ronin. These 47 samurai served a lord named Asano Naganori. Unfortunately, Asano had a bit of a temper, and after an altercation with a corrupt official named Kira Yoshinaka, Asano was forced to commit seppuku, ritual suicide. His samurai were left without a master, turning them into Ronin, masterless samurai, which in samurai terms is like being downgraded from a first-class seat to a riding in the baggage compartment. It was a huge dishonor. But these Ronin didn't sit around feeling sorry for themselves. No, they plotted revenge. For over a year, they patiently bided their time, pretending to live normal lives. But in reality, they were planning the ultimate payback. Finally, in 1703, they stormed Kira's mansion, killed him, and took his head as an offering at their lord's grave. Mission accomplished. But here's the kicker. Even though their actions were seen as heroic, they still had to pay for breaking the law. So in true samurai fashion, all 47 of them committed seppuku. They got their revenge, kept their honor, and still managed to go out in the most samurai way possible. The 47 Ronin are remembered as the ultimate avengers, without the spandex suits. Harald Hardrada. Harald Hardrada was basically the last great Viking king. His name literally means Harald the Hard Ruler. So you know he wasn't the type of guy who spent his weekends baking cookies. Harald fought in battles all across Europe, accumulating treasure, power, and enemies in equal measure. He even tried to become the King of England, because hey, why not? In 1066, Harald sailed to England with a massive fleet of Viking warriors, hoping to claim the throne. And things started off pretty well. He even won a battle at Stamford Bridge. The problem was that England's new king, Harold Godwinson, wasn't too keen on sharing, so he marched his army to meet Harald in one of the most epic showdowns in Viking history. Harald, being a proper Viking, refused to go down without a fight. Even when the odds were stacked against him, he charged into battle, probably screaming something like, "For Odin!" He was hit in the throat by an arrow and died on the battlefield. But in true Viking fashion, Harald's death was more like the final act of an epic saga than a tragedy. He died as he lived, with an axe in hand, surrounded by chaos and bloodshed. And while he didn't get to rule England, he left a legacy as one of the last great Viking warriors. Pyrrhus of Epirus. Now, most epic deaths involve swords, spears, or maybe even arrows, but Pyrrhus of Epirus, a great king and general, had the misfortune of meeting his end thanks to a roofing tile. Let's back up a bit. Pyrrhus was one of those guys who just couldn't stay out of a good fight. After inheriting the throne of Epirus, he went around fighting everyone he could. Romans, Macedonians, Carthaginians. In fact, his name is where we get the term Pyrrhic victory, which means you won. But the cost was so high you kind of wish you hadn't. That's how Pyrrhus fought, winning battles but losing so many men that it didn't really feel like a win. Anyway, in 272 BCE, Pyrrhus found himself fighting in the city of Argos, because apparently he didn't know when to take a vacation. During a chaotic street battle, Pyrrhus charged down a narrow alleyway, when suddenly, an old lady appeared on a roof. Now, this wasn't just any old lady. She was angry, and when old ladies get angry, you better watch out. She picked up a loose roofing tile and hurled it at Pyrrhus, hitting him square in the head. The great warrior who had spent his entire life fighting like a lion was taken out by a roofing tile, thrown by a grandma. Talk about an anticlimactic ending. Still, Pyrrhus' death goes down in history as one of the weirdest ways for a warrior to meet his doom. I mean, who would have thought a king would lose a battle to someone's roof? Conclusion. So there you have it. 6 of the most epic, wild, and downright ridiculous warrior deaths in human history. From kings to samurai, these warriors didn't just fight with honor. They made sure their deaths were as memorable as possible. Whether it was charging into battle while already dead, yelling about freedom at the top of their lungs, or getting killed by a roof tile. These guys knew how to go out in style. And while most of us probably won't have such dramatic exits, at least we can take comfort in the fact that none of us will be strapped to a horse and sent into battle after we're dead. At least, we hope not.